How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Mojo Group. Mike here. Today on a beautiful Saturday, I've got one of the most underrated airplanes in GA. Stay tuned, we're gonna check out the 1984 Piper Malibu. So you're ready to get in the big boy class. Guys, this is not your intermediate or even beginner's airplane. This is an airplane you get into once you've gotten all of your rating or you're ready to put on the big boy suit, because here, as similar as it looks, believe it or not, this is a 1984 model of the Piper Malibu, and I'll tell you the reason why you want to look very hard at this particular year if you're looking to get into one of these. A brief history about the Piper Malibus. When these came out, they're supposed to be what you need to carry more load, carry more people, and most importantly, get up there in altitude, beat the weather. But the downside was it's still strapped with the piston engine. But I'll tell you the power plant in this airplane and why it's the perfect fit for anyone who's looking at a Malibu. So just going around here, when you look at this plane, the newest model of the Malibu, they're called the M350. Okay, so if you were again a 2024, 2025 model of this plane, it will look exactly like this, I promise you, because the airframe has not changed much. Okay, it will look very similar to this, same door entry, same size, but you're gonna be paying a lot more money for the newest model. In my personal opinion, you get far better bang for your money with this 84 model. And like I said, I'll tell you more reasons why. As I go around it here, as you can see, it is a complex aircraft. This is a great platform to train yourself if you're looking to fly high altitude, but more importantly, fly faster. And if you desire to get into turbine one day, the Malibu to me is the perfect training platform. And so as I come here, I'm gonna show you why this airplane is special. First, you look at the wingtip here. This plane is well equipped with Fiki, so you can fly in on icing. But also this plane has extended range tanks. So you've got extra 10 gallons in addition to your 60 gallons per side. So in total, this Malibu will take up to 140 gallons of fuel, which will extend your range significantly. Even compared to the newer models, this is a 6 to 7 hour airplane, which means you can take people and go places. If it's just you and maybe a co-passenger or pilot, you can fly for 1,500 nautical miles in this plane. But now back at the front here, let me tell you why this particular year model is special. So in between 84 and 86, the Malibus were equipped with the Continental engine, but you only had about 310 horsepower. Now, for owners who flew this plane then, said, well, this is puny. We need a lot more horsepower to get up there in altitude, because the max ceiling for these planes, you're looking at 25,000 feet. So that's pretty high. And so what happened later on is you have an STC for this particular plane that allows you to put a new Continental, but with 40 extra horsepower. So this one in front of me here has 350 horsepower engine, a Continental engine, but it is through an STC. And more STCs inside, but let me show you the interior of this plane. Okay, let's just get in here for a minute. I can imagine myself flying one of these, and it's the perfect upgrade. Once you've flown a lot of fixed landing gear plane and you get some complex time in slower airplanes, this here to me is the perfect transition, or the most natural transition. So you come in here, you've got 4 seats in the back, okay? And let me show you how easy it is to get your luggage back in this plane. You see the Piper tag there? All you do is just pull the seat back here and voila, You've got your luggage compartment. So this is a true cross-country aircraft. Take the family, put some bags in there, and you can see, just get an idea of the leg room you have between seats. Now, you also have a pull-out table there. And I've always, if you look at my M600 videos or some of the videos I did on the turbine-powered, the turboprops of this plane, is I like that the window size in these planes are pretty big to me when you think about the size of the airplane. And something the owner did, actually, look here, he removed one of the seats because he just doesn't need it. And in his mission, he doesn't carry more than 2 to 3 people on a typical flight. But here you've got a nice cabin, also pressurized. So again, you're going up in altitude in this bird, so you don't have to put an extra oxygen mask on whenever you're up there. But you come up front here, where the magic happens. So you can see that this plane has been completely upgraded with glass avionics. You've got some Aspen there. You've got your 750s. Those are Garmin 750s there in the middle. So you've got all the modern amenities when it comes to avionics. And of course, standard yokes. And look, your standard console here, throttle, mixture, prop. Your rudder pedals are down there. And one thing I will say may be a downside to the design of the Malibu, which again, this is just me nitpicking here, is that this is the only door to get in and out of the airplane, okay? But once you come in, there's more than enough room for you to get in as a pilot and get your nice butt in there. It's a nice cabin. I'm gonna get the cabin width to show you so you get an idea based on your size and height, how well you fit in here. But you've got nice leg room also in the front. And one thing I forgot to mention, in the back here, is these are reclining seats. So your passenger could completely recline the seat here and just go to sleep. So recline, put your foot here, and have a nice flight. Again, you don't have to use any oxygen mask because you got pressurized cabin. Also, these planes have air conditioning, which is golden in GA. If you can have AC in your plane, that's a beautiful thing. So Piper kept a lot of this in mind. I want to turn on these avionics so I can show you exactly what you're working with in this airplane. So, hey boys and girls, here we are in the cockpit of the Malibu. You can see, as I said, you've got the Aspens over there. You got your flight directed. That's an engine screen there, and then a pair of it's a lot of screens, 750s. So I'm curious, actually, if you don't mind walking me through, as a pilot, when you're sitting in this cabin or this cockpit here, that's your primary display there?
Yeah, so I'll walk you left to right. So if you take a look over there, that's a vacuum backup. So that was an original, that was left. We do have to have 2 vacuum pumps in a pressurized plane that has FICI.
Okay.
Because our icing boots run off the vacuum pumps.
Gotcha.
So the vacuum pumps also power your backup over there. I do have 3 Aspens, so I have 3 AHAR systems, so there's plenty of backup anyway.
Okay.
Underneath that vacuum there, you see a storm scope. They're a little antiquated these days, but it's there and it does show lightning strikes.
Sweet.
To the left, we have our gyro suction, which is the vacuum indicator, and just below that is our knob for pressurization. So you'll set your cruise altitude, or a couple feet above that, and then that'll give you up to 5.5 psi of delta P, which is the pressurization in the cabin, and it'll tell you what it corresponds to. So up to 14,000 feet MSL, or density altitude, we can still have pressure altitude, I should say, we could still have a 1,000-foot cabin. As you start climbing from there, you'll see the numbers on the outside of the ring, and even up in the flight levels in the 20s, like today flying down here, I was at 20,000 feet, and I had a 6,000-foot cabin inside the airplane. So you don't need to be sucking oxygen. We do have oxygen for emergency under the co-pilot seat and under the seat that you're on for the passengers. There are 4 masks here and 2 up front.
Okay.
You have your primary, your PFD over there with your attitude indicator and your HSI. To the left of that, we have 3 screens set up for the other Aspen there with a mini attitude, and then I keep it on traffic. there is a revert button that you could press, the red button. If you lose your primary, you press revert and the secondary becomes the primary.
Okay.
Down there we have our altimeter, which is an original altimeter. We have our cabin pressure to the left. Annunciator panel, which normally is not lit, but the engine is off. And then we have our JPI 930, that's our engine monitor. The biggest thing in a complex aircraft, especially in a piston, in a turbine as well, but in a piston is managing engines. So you have to manage your engine temps. We have our CHTs like we do in any piston. We have our EGTs. But when you run Lena peak operations in this engine, you're running them off what's called TIT, which is the turbo inlet temp.
Interesting.
So you're not leaning off EGTs, you're leaning off TITs. So the JPI makes that very efficient and very easy to follow. We have our Garmin 750, our number 1, our number 2 nav, so dual 750 again for redundancy.
Nice GPS. Yep.
Yeah. PS Engineering audio panel with Bluetooth. So I like to get some music going once we're in cruise. We got our transponder there, and then the right seat or co-pilot Aspen 1000 Pro, which is got its own built-in AHRS as well. Sweet. So you have 3 AHRS, and then you have your backup vacuum. So a lot of redundancy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can't run out of screens or avionics in this. This is
down on the bottom there. We have our KFC 150. It's our autopilot, and then you have your throttle quadrant. You have your friction lock on the left, followed by your manifold pressure, which is your throttle, the black.
Right.
The blue is going to be your propeller, RPM speed, and then the red is going to be your mixture. You have your elevator trim on the right. We also have an electric trim and a rudder trim.
Is that active? Like
it is.
Oh, I like that.
So I set rudder trim to the right before takeoff, because once you get that power in, you know, the famous saying in aviation is more right rudder.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm climbing for 25 minutes to flight level 250, last thing I want to do is kill my right leg, right? So the rudder trim will kind of hold it for you. Yeah.
Sweet.
Down at the bottom, we have alt air. And then up at the yoke, just to the left of the yoke right there, we have our flaps. And then that's your icing panel. All those switches are your surface de-ice. You got your prop heat. You got your stall warning heat. You got your ice light outside if you're flying at night. Pitot heat and windshield heat. We have a hot plate on the windshield. So if you're coming out of icing in the winter, you can see out the window by melting the ice on the hot plate. In this airplane, the POH wants you to put the pitot heat on before you take your runway. So before runway checklist, I have an acronym. It's called LAFTIC. L is for lights, so lights as desired. A is for air, pressurization is set. Presumably, usually I'll have air conditioning on, and I'll have the suction on the gyros. F is for flaps. We set the flaps either to 10 degrees or 20, depending on how many people I have in the airplane and what kind of a strip I have to take off from. Okay. And then T would be your trim. You set your elevator trim and your rudder trim at that point. I is for icing. I turn on my pitot heat. And then C is for cast messages. We press to test and make sure that none are illuminated once we let go. So your LAFTIC checklist is right before you take your runway, and that's when the pitot heat comes on.
That's awesome.
You're presuming you're going to need a pitot heat because remember, we're flying in freezing temps in the summer.
You're going up in altitude, so yeah, makes sense.
So as my CFI told me in this airplane, he said in a big boy plane, you always want to pretend you'll be in freezing temps even in the summer because you're going to end up high and you want that pitot heat on at all times.
It's pretty sweet. And honestly, even like this plane is older than me, and it looks pretty well kept. I was looking at even the yoke and everything. I thought the yoke would look different than what it does. But
I'm very grateful that the previous owner took really good care of the airplane, and then I continued his legacy. And I maintain this plane with an open checkbook. My mechanic has a key to the hangar, and I tell him every 30 hours I want the oil change and analyzed. And if you find a squawk, please fix it and send me an invoice when you're ready. I fly my kids in here, so no corners are getting cut.
That's awesome. Yep, that's awesome, man. Now, you're looking at a Piper Malibu. Like I said, you want to absolutely check out the 84 to 86 model. And the reason being that economically, the planes that were built during that year makes more sense. And of course, if you go the route of the current owner here, using the STC to get a bigger engine, you get even more bang for your buck. Also, that the extended tank, that's an STC as well. So this plane, like I said, it's a true cross-country machine, 200 knots, and you're only burning 14 gallons. 14 gallons of fuel per hour. Here's the best part. If you're looking at one of these, you're probably spending between $400,000 and $500,000. Now, obviously, that sounds like a lot of money, but for what you get with this machine, keep in mind the 350, the newest model of these planes, in some cases, you're spending close to $2 million, 1.7, right? 1.5, to me, if you're spending that kind of money, you might as well get you a turboprop. But for the same airplane and better economy, right, you're spending a third in this plane. And this plane also holds its value. You take care of it, it will take care of you. Okay, so those are the numbers. Price-wise, $500,000, 200 knots, and climb rate, you're looking at 800 feet on a hot day. You may go 1,400 feet on a nice cool day. So that's that for you. And of course, this is a plane you can take into known ice, and you've got Fiki on board. Every equipment you could possibly need, this birdie has. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if this is your first time, make sure you support Mojo Grip by subscribing. Also, join my mailing list. It's right in the video description. And if you want to learn more about trading airplanes, join our private group at the Mojo Effect. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, my name is Mike, and I will catch you on the next video. Peace.